-2 swing area calculator. These are all the directions. This is 7 pages long. Do not feel overwhelmed. I'm also assuming that you've already looked at this one, so you know about the event listeners and that you've seen what the GUI looks like. So you can see right here, sort of like what the screen looks like in the different sections. So if you are reading the material that's online, they call it something else, but it's a navigator window. Is really the area that you should be looking at. So the new directions that I've created that are out here, 7-2, has everything called the right way, as does the directions here. And so again, both of these are located right here. There's 2 separate links. All right, so for the swing area calculator, so our objective here is that we're going to apply what we learned with the GUI programming in Swing to modify an existing program. So we're going back to that 4.2 area calculation that we have done before. And so we're going to create a new project called Swing Area Calculator, and this time we're going to uncheck the Create Main Class checkbox. So we're not going to, we're going to uncheck that when we do it, and then we're going to create a JFrame by right-clicking on the project name. So it gives us all that information. So we're going to go Java, Java application, and we're going to hit Next. And this one we're going to uncheck the main, and we are going to call this project, I'm moving my window to the side, Swing Area Calculator, Swing Area Calculator, and I'm going to browse here, and I'm going to put mine under demonstrations because I'm doing a demonstration now. And now I want to click Finish. Okay, so now I have the Swing Area Calculator out here in my projects, and I am going to right click on it, and I'm going to say New, and JFrame Form. And if you don't find it there, I'm just going to hit cancel for a second. So let's say you're here and you're like, oh, I can't find it. There's Other down here, so you can click that, and so maybe yours is, mine's populating at the top because I use it. I've been using it. So if you don't see it, just look under Other. And so the class name is going to be Area Calculator. Area Calculator. And then the package is going to be Swing Area. Okay, and then we're going to hit Finish. Got it. And so I know that I've done the right thing because I have my palette off here to the side, and then I have my design window right here. I thought I could maybe do back and forth, have the directions on one side, but it looks like it's not going to work because this window doesn't look fantastic. So I will maybe just toggle between instead. But let's just look. So eventually our goal is we're going to have a window that looks just like this. So we're going to have the circle, the rectangle, the triangle, dimension 1 inches, dimension 2 blank inches, a button to calculate the area, text here that says the area is, and this is where the text would actually print out. So this is again the one where the person's picking the user input. The user's going to pick if they want circle, rectangle, or triangle, and they're going to input the dimensions. So this is just like the exercise you did before, but instead before we had those if-else statements depending if they pressed a number, because our code before was asking them for a number. This time they're going to use this nice GUI window, so that'll be really nice to be able to use. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to drag things from the palette. So here's the palette off to the side, and I'm just going to make this window a little bit bigger so you can see sort of what it would look like. And mine is not showing some of the stuff on the side. So the navigator window is right here. Let's see if I can put that in. So there's the navigator window. And then our projects window, there we go. Sometimes if I made this main window bigger before, so it took away those other sections, but now they're all here, and I have my palette on the side. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do, and I actually did print some paper for me, which was very smart, since I can't toggle through. All right, so we're going to drag 3 radio buttons onto this. So this is our area, and this is the JFrame right here. So watch what's going to happen. So we look on the side, and you're going to look to try and find radio buttons. So let's see. So this is swing containers. Nope, I don't want that. Swing controls. Swing controls I want. Up, radio button right here. So I'm just going to drag 1, and I'm going to drag 2, and I'm going to drag 3. And do you remember they were all in a row? So we had 1, 2, and then 3. So they were all, and you can get as specific as you want. So see, there's 3 lines between. You can make them spaced evenly. That you'd really want to do for your final project. But for right now, we're just gonna put them out there and kind of make it look, you know, reasonably spaced apart. All right. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna change the name. Do you see how I just tapped in there? I got it. I had to do it just right. So I'm just. Sometimes I have a hard time with it, and I double click and I end up getting into the source code. So do you see up here it says source, design, and history? So the source is actually like the coding like we've been doing, and the design is, you know, the screen, what it looks like to the end user. So we want to work in the design, but sometimes if you double click, you'll end up in the source. But that's not a big deal because then you can just click to go back. So this is what the source code looks like, and this is what the design window looks like. All right, so we did circle, so I'm going to click in here and see I'm kind of having some trouble with my clicking. If that's the case, you can just do right click. Come on. Oh, no, I did it. I didn't have to do the right click. It's the properties button over here that I need. I was missing another window. Okay, so this should be what your screen looks like with the properties underneath. So down here in the properties section, so when this is highlighted, and you can see it's shaded over here, we have the little, I think it's yellowy orange, maybe it's orange box around here, and then the properties here. So you can see it says J radio button 2 here, J radio button 2 here, J radio button 2 here. So that's the text on it. If I want the text not to say J radio button 2, I could click in here and say, I could type, let's see, the second one's going to be rectangle. Rectangle. So I can type rectangle there, and then what happens? See, it changes it there. So there's a few different ways to do it if you can't click just right. And then the other one, oh, it's not, I was going to type square. It's not square. Triangle. Okay, so I've done the first. So I did that, and I changed the name. So I've done step 2. Now I'm going to move on to step 3. And so you might want to print it out unless you have a bigger screen than I have, and you can toggle between. So now we're going to click on the circle radio button. That's the circle radio button. And then it says that we're going to go down to the property editor and check the selected text box. All right, so this down here where it says selected. So depending on how big this window is for you, you might have to scroll a little bit. But see this word selected right here? We want it to be selected. And what that does is when the window first appears, when people see it, automatically circle's automatically going to be selected. That's our default. So when you turn it on, it's going to be circle. Now, a little history about radio buttons. Radio buttons, you try and these are mutually exclusive. So for these ones typically, you can't have multiple radio buttons clicked. A radio button usually is one of them's clicked and the rest of them are off. So they're either on or off. So circle's going to be clicked on and rectangle and triangle are off. Oops, did you see what I did? I went to the wrong one again. Sometimes I do that. I just wanted to move that over a little bit. Okay, so we've done, so now we're moving on to step 4. It says drag 2 labels from the palette over to the design area. Okay, so here we go. Labels. And I'm terrible at scanning. Oh, here it is, labels. So I'm going to drag one here, and then I'm going to take the other one and drag it over. And then do you notice when I drag things over, do you see they populate over here? So it tells me on the side in this navigator window everything that's out on my screen. All right, so now I've done that. And they want me to change the name. So I say double click on that. And I'm going to change that one to dimension 1 with a colon. And this one, I'm going to double click and change it to dimension 2 with a colon. Great. So now I have both of those labeled. So I've done step 5. And now it says on step 6, drag 2 text boxes from the palette next to the dimension tables in the design area. Okay, so here we go. So we're going to go over here. We're going to pick text fields. So see if we see that. You're going to find it before me. Okay, here's a text field. I consider text fields are kind of like text boxes. Like it's going to be this empty box where people are going to be able to enter information. Okay, so I dragged those over. And then it wants me to delete the default name. So I'm going to go in here and hit delete. And see what happens. It turns into this orange box, and I'm going to just widen it. So I made it 80. You can sort of decide how wide you want it to be. Up, and I double clicked there, and I went to the wrong one again. Not a big deal. Oh, I did it again. All right, so I'm having trouble now, which I told you I would. I struggle with it. So I'm going over here instead and deleting it there. And now I'm going to make this one bigger. And look what happened to my other one. It went back. It's evil. I'm going to fix it. So if things like that happen, no big deal. I noticed that it reset itself and I changed it. Okay, so now they're a normal size, so someone can type in the dimensions. So it says dimension 1 and dimension 2 because circle only takes radius, so I'd only use 1. Rectangle takes both of them, right? You need to have the length times width, and triangle you need base times height. So we have some generic labels out here so that it works for all of those shapes. All right, so now the next thing is we're dragging 2 more labels from the palette, and we're going to turn it in step 9 to say inches. All right, so I get label here, and I'm going to try and line it up. And I'm going to get the other label, and I'm going to try and line it up. So you can see it puts those dotted lines to help me see that it's lined up. Okay, this one's going to be inches, and this one's also going to be called inches. Because the label, what I'm doing now when I change those names, I'm just making it for the screen display. So I have not changed the name. So you can see over here, one's called label 3. If I click on this label 3, do you see what happens? Then that one has the box around it, and label 4 is the bottom one. So it changes the numbers. So it gives, the way the naming convention works when you first drag things out is it says like sort of like its function, what it does, and then it numbers them. So I have 3 radio buttons, so guess what they're called? You know, J radio button 1, J radio button 2, J radio button 3. So that's all that's doing. But I'm going to rename them afterwards because these are terrible names, because how am I going to remember which one's the circle? It's the first one out there, but it's going to be too tough, so we won't do that. All right, so we have finished the first page because they've read inches. We're down through step 9, yay! And now we have to look for step number 10. Okay, step number 10 says drag a button from the palette over to the design area. Okay, so we're going to find a button. So we're going to search here, menu, 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 to see if we see button. Oh, right at the top, I dragged away for no reason. So I'm going to put the button out here, and then I'm going to change the name of the button. So I double clicked again. You see my pain. My students in my face-to-face classroom are used to this. You guys aren't used to it. All right, so I typed it over there, so it says calculate area. That was step 11. And then step 12 is drag another label. Now I know what those are on the top. Drag it out there. And it's going to be renamed to say the area is. The area is with a colon, okay? And I'm just going to maybe line it up a little bit. My button, is it lined up now? Okay, now my button's lined up. So I dragged that label out, and then I'm going to get one more label. And I'm going to put it right there. Okay, and this is going to be the output label. So this is a little bit different. So we're going to click on that label name, and so it says here we're going to scroll until we reach the layout. So we're going to see where we see layout. Might be a bit of scrolling, and again we know that I'm not really great at scanning, so it might take me a minute. Layout, here we go. So we're going to, instead of the vertical size being the default, we're going to make it 20. So we're just going to type the number 20 there. And then we're going to go for horizontal resizable. We're going to click the check there. So it's going to be able to resize. And that's step 15. Perfect. And right now it's called label 6. We do not want it to be called label 6. We're going to hit delete there. So there's going to be no name inside. That didn't work. I'm going to hit delete again. See if that worked. Okay, that worked. So I deleted that out, so it's blank, but so it has that size to put the area in. All right, very good. And I think that's all we need to do. Okay, we deleted that. That was step 16. So now 17, we're going to drag a button group from the palette. All right, so we're going to find this thing. We're going to look for button group. See it right here. And that kind of links the buttons together. So you remember how I said before, and it doesn't show up on here, but you see it popped up over here, button group 1. And the reason for that, remember I said we want buttons are typically mutually exclusive. So that means I don't want to have, if I click circle, then these ones can't be clicked. And if I click triangle, then circle and rectangle can't be clicked. So we have to kind of group them all together. So that's why we do a button group. And for the button group, we're now going to add all of these items to the button group. So I'm going to click on the word circle, and it says button group here. It says none, and now we're going to change it to button group 1. And we're going to do the same thing for rectangle. We're going to change it to button group 1. And triangle is also going to be in button group 1. And did you see when I clicked on it, do you see how it has those links? So they're all linked together now, so they're all one. So we've done that. Oh, and I see an error in my procedure on number 19. It says repeat step R for the rectangle and triangle radio button. So I'm going to actually fix that. We do not want to have bad directions. And let's see. We're going to go down. These are where I put all my pictures on the side. We'll go down to 19. Where did it go? Repeat step 18. Here we go. For the rectangle and triangle buttons. All right, so now, let's see, we're already on page 4. This is very exciting. So now we're going to add the swing menu. So we've got a screen the way it's supposed to look, so that's exciting. Now we're going to add a menu bar because we don't have one. So I have some pictures in here, but I'm going to just walk you through. Let me close this. And let me close this. And let me open this. All right, we're going to try and get our screens up at the same time. Now we'll see if we can do this. Okay, so now we're going to drag the menu bar. So we're going to look and find menu bar. Here it is. And we're going to click, and you're going to put it in the top corner and then let go. So if it doesn't work, you might have to delete and do it again. But I did it. It's there, and you can see it's over here. So that's great news. Then you're going to click on this down arrow. And the second one is the edit. So we're going to delete that. We're not going to use it. So there's a few different ways to do it. I just like to right click and then hit delete. So that's how I do it. There's other options in there if you want to try different ways. So that's been deleted. And now we're on to step 3. We're going to add 2 menu items. So we put the menu bar there. So now we need 2 menu items. So when you drag the menu items, you're going to make sure you highlight the word file. See how it has the orange around it? So there's 1 menu item. And I'm going to get the second menu item. Again, I have to go right into file. And so now they're both there. And you can see them right over here too, which is perfect. And we're going to change the text to be clear and exit. So the first one is going to be clear. Because we have these boxes, we want to reset them. And then the other one's exit. So we've done that step. So they say clear and exit, which is good. And now we're going to rename everything. So all of these file names, we have to rename them. So the way we rename them is we do the right click again. And these are all, and there's an option for change variable name. So we're going to go through, I'll actually pause the video because you do not want to watch me do all of this. But I'll do the first couple. So under the J menu, we're going to change this one. We're going to do right click, and we're going to change the variable name. And so we're going to call it clear menu item. And remember to use camel case. So that's the lowercase first word, and then every word thereafter has an uppercase letter, no spaces between. So we have clear menu item, and we're going to do this one. Change variable name, so this one's going to be exit menu item. All right, so you're going to go through for all of them. All of the names are here on the side. You need to match them.